and if you put them closer, they look very, very identical. When it comes to the flight performance, to be honest, it is a very difficult decision to make. Hey Ali, which helicopter you would go for? Which helicopter do I prefer, S2 Legend or M2 EVO? Well, my decision will be based on Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, greetings, Ali Shanmal here, and welcome to this most requested video. Goosky S2 Legend direct drive 3D RC helicopter versus OMPhobby M2 EVO. Yes, first of all, thank you very much for trusting my reviews on these RC helicopters. I appreciate that you follow my work and trust my reviews. Upon request, I have posted a detailed review of Goosky S2 Legend RC helicopter on my channel, and then a detailed review of M2 EVO on my channel as well, and you should have watched different flight videos of both of these helicopters. Now, this is the comparison video, so let's get to work. Let me show you what are these helicopters, and we'll try to find some difference. In fact, it's pretty difficult to find differences in these helicopters apart from, you know, the physical appearance. But when it comes to the flight performance, to be honest, it is a very difficult decision to make which helicopter to go for. In this video, let me show you what are these two helicopters. So let's get to work. First off, when it comes to physical appearance, they do not look the same, of course, because of the different canopy design on the Goosky S2 Legend, while OMPhobby M2 is still following the old school design of their canopies. Goosky has went ahead and they gave you a new type of canopy, so you don't have to take the whole canopy off just like you do in, you know, OMPhobby helicopters. Instead, they give you just this notch and so, you know, it's like chicken beak. It just opens and you can put the battery in. Now, apart from the physical appearance, the first question is the size. So let's put them side by side. Now, when these helicopters are side by side, noses are exactly, you know, in the same level, you will not notice any difference in size. Now comes to the tail boom. Goosky S2 Legend has a little bit more beefier, chunky. You can see a little thicker tail boom, while if you look at the tail boom of M2 EVO, it's kind of thin. But if you look here, I believe we call it height-wise, it's still at the same levels as the Goosky Legend has. So to say, Goosky S2 has slightly thicker tail boom. Here we have thinner tail boom, but both tail boom looks pretty strong. Now, when we come to the tail, my original issue with the Goosky S2 was this very, very fragile tail fin, which actually breaks very easily, and then they have a carbon fiber part here to mount the motor, tail motor. But when you look at the tail rotor of M2 EVO, you will see there are metal parts here, okay, and the tail fin, well, is still very thin. And we have a metal part here, and there is a carbon fiber part. Now for the tail motors, they both look identical to me, you know, size-wise. Here we have R13-3 motor, and on Goosky it doesn't say anything. Both are using, you know, slightly larger tail rotor so that it will have reduced, you know, noise levels on the tail. However, if you look at it on M2 EVO, the tail rotor looks like even slightly larger by bare eyes. So both helicopters are running larger tail rotors to reduce the tail noise. Now we will come to the main rotors, and by bare eyes you will notice that they are same. However, there is a little bit of difference. Again, I believe it's a 2 to 4 millimeter difference. M2 EVO blades are shorter in comparison to Goosky S2 blades, but again, I believe you should be able to use those blades interchangeably, because having to have 2mm or 3mm, 4mm difference is not gonna make much difference in flight performance. So blades are almost identical and you can use them interchangeably. Now both helicopters' main rotors are not DFC. As M2 EVO, you can see the main rotor is flybarless with washout base, and the Goosky main rotor is also flybarless with washout base. And if you put them closer, they look very, very identical, especially on the central piece, washout bases, swash plate, except that rotor holder here, it's closed here, and in M2 EVO, rotor holder has a cutout here. Basically very, very identical. So the thing that I like about M2 is that once you remove the canopy, you have access to your flight controller directly, so you can change all the settings that you want. While here, if you want to change the settings of the flight controller, you can do it manually, but you have an app for it and a Bluetooth module. So if you have installed the Bluetooth module, you can use app and your life is very easy. But if you don't have Bluetooth module, your life is going to be very painful to remove the top cover every time by opening the screws and getting into the flight controller for changing the settings. So if you buy Goosky S2, you have to do additional expense of buying a Bluetooth module that you need to install, and then download the app. An app that a lot of people don't actually like, especially apps from China, because who knows what they are reading in your phone in the background, your credit card information, your wealth, your everything. They are reading everything, the apps, and that is why a lot of people in US prefer not to install apps, especially apps coming from Asian countries. So that M2 EVO does not give you any app, direct controls on the flight controller. No app, no phone, no computer, nothing needed. You can change the settings very, very quickly on M2 EVO helicopter using just one, screwdriver, a mini screwdriver, and use the settings button. While here, you either need to remove the whole canopy painfully, or you must have an app to change the settings on Goosky S2. For the frame on Goosky S2, because I cannot open the canopy, you can see the frame is right here in front of you, okay? And there's a big, nice direct drive motor. There are metal parts right here, and then there's metal part right under the swash plate. Frame on M2 EVO is also very nice and simple frame. Once again, we have metal parts here and metal part up here right under the swash plate, and then we have their servos, just like we have the servos on Goosky S2. So they are pretty identical here. Okay, so I believe there isn't much to see. Once again, there's a nice big motor on M2 EVO direct drive. Now the landing skids on both helicopters are nylon. As you can see, nylon landing skids. They're not easy to break, normally bend, but they don't break. All right, so this was, the comparison directly for M2 EVO and Goosky S2. Now, before the sun completely goes down, I still have visibility. Let's give them one flight right away, and we'll talk about the flight performance. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. M2 EVO going first. Now in 6G mode, both helicopters are very forgiving and very easy to fly. So flying M2 in 6G mode, as soon as you make a mistake, just leave the sticks and helicopter will come back to normal flight. Similarly, in 3D mode, I hope you can see it. If your helicopter is inverted, okay, and you flip the switch to normal flight, it just auto levels but flips and goes downwards. Okay, so that was this. Let's start. This is 60-65% head speed. I would say it's actually very, very locked in. I don't know if you can see it or not, or you can just hear it. So maybe I should keep it more towards the sky because it's getting dark. Yes, it's getting dark, so it's difficult to see when it goes towards the mountain, towards that hill. Alright, I'm gonna land M2 EVO because I need a little bit light to fly the Goosky S2. This was M2 EVO, people. Very nice and locked in flight. I haven't changed any more settings on this helicopter. So far it's running complete stock settings that it came from the factory. Okay, Goosky S2 is going in the air. Here we go. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So it's getting slightly dark, but hopefully it will be visible. Once again, in 6G mode, very stable to fly, so beginners can actually have fun to fly and focus on learning, but not complete beginners. All right, now let's check the rescue. So I'm inverted at 60% head speed, and as soon as I flip the switch, the same way it goes downward, flips back to normal. I'm just trying to figure out what to say, because you can see both flight controllers actually make these helicopters very, very locked in. I mean, really, the flight controllers on both helicopters, I don't see any difference. They're actually very, very locked in. So, I don't know. If one claims that my flight controller is better, I really don't know how to say, because we are not, you know, electronics engineers. So we don't know what's inside. Only, you know, the electronics engineers can tell you. Look at that, mashallah, very locked in TikToks. I am actually not able to see the helicopter most of the time. I know where the helicopter and what it's doing, but it's not very visible to me because now the sun is down, so I'm like, you know, doing those routines that I'm used to. So let's land. Beautiful flight, man. I like it. And I hope it was visible enough for you to see what the helicopter was doing. Otherwise, I will do, of course, more flights of both helicopters, you know, during daytime with more visibility, so you can actually see clearly what both helicopters are doing. All right, people. Well, here is a very, very quick conclusion after these two short flights and the visual comparison between S2 Legend from Goosky and M2 EVO from OMPhobby, both dual brushless motor direct drive 3D RC helicopters. Now, after this short flight, I am holding both helicopters in my hands and with the motors, my fingers on the motors. Of course, the temperature on the S2 is higher because I just landed it, while OMPhobby M2 EVO landed earlier, this flight early, and that's why the motor is cooler. However, to be honest, after flying both helicopters right after the flight on a very, very hot day, I can tell you both helicopters, they do not overheat. The motors do not overheat. They actually keep on normal operating temperatures. So yes, so both helicopters definitely have the power combo, which is really nicely matched to the performance of these helicopters, weight and speed and flight performance. Everything is actually properly matched with the flight power combo on both of these helicopters. Now, a very important question comes to mind before I go, and a number of people have asked me that, hey Ali, which helicopter you would go for? Which helicopter do you prefer? S2 Legend from Goosky or M2 EVO from OMPhobby? Well, I would say I'm an old fan of OMPhobby, and I've been doing videos for OMPhobby helicopters since the world's very first dual brushless motor direct drive RC helicopter was released from OMPhobby. This M2, this very M2 right here, it's still in my hands. I brought it out because I wanted to give it a comparison with M2 EVO, and this helicopter is still here, and I can tell you this helicopter still flies very well and really performs. I'm not gonna say that I'm a fan of OMPhobby, so I would prefer M2 EVO, and that the Goosky is a brand new company. And yeah, I didn't talk about the politics. Wait for the live show, we will talk about that politics. No, I'm not gonna talk about any of those things. I'm not even concerned about any of those things. My decision, which helicopter do I prefer, S2 Legend or M2 EVO? Well, my decision will be based on which helicopter is cheaper to buy, you know, all these man-made disasters and so-called problems, inflation around the world have made people's buying power so low, and lives are getting difficult for many out there. A whole lot of families out there are facing financial trouble, including us. So I would say if I want to choose one of these helicopters, I would go for the helicopter which is cheaper to buy, parts are easily available and cheaper, and of course company support is most important, the support from the company. So to say which helicopter you should go for, I would leave the conclusion and decision all up to you by saying that both of these helicopter S2 Legend from Goosky and M2 EVO from OMPhobby are absolutely very locked in and very high performance RC 3D helicopters, the kind of helicopters that I would really, really love to keep with me and keep on flying. Trust me, I get bored very soon by RC stuff, and then I leave them after a few flights, and you know, months pass and I don't come out. But since I got S2 and M2 EVO, I have urge to fly. I want to fly these helicopters because their performance. Why? Because I practice on real flight G7.5 simulator, and what I do on that simulator, when I come out, these two helicopters are behaving very, very close to what I'm getting used to on the flight simulator using my Futaba radio. And that is the reason I'm using Futaba radio on both of these helicopters, because they are super easy to set up with Futaba radio controllers. So to say, that is why I like both of these helicopters, and I would say thank you very much Goosky, and thank you very much OMPhobby for releasing S2 Legend and M2 EVO. They're absolutely brilliant RC helicopter products. And if you're an RC helicopter fan, no matter beginners or, you know, professional expert 3D pilot, you are simply gonna love it, and you should have these helicopters in your fleet. Enough said. I love both of these helicopters, so thank you very much once again Goosky and OMPhobby for these helicopters, and I'm gonna keep on flying them. I'm gonna keep on crashing, keep on repairing, keep on flying, and keep on improving my skills. So people, stay tuned for more videos coming your way. Did I mention that E120S is coming from Ishin, another dual brushless motor direct drive RC helicopter? Well, stay tuned for that video. Come on, you know what to do. Hit that like button, it's right there. I know you can do it. Oh, while you're at it, also hit the subscribe button right there. Come on, don't be shy, just hit it. Thank you very much for all your support towards my work, that I post regular and fresh content on my channel just for you. Hit that like button right.